Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems, security systems, fire safety systems, home theater systems, state-of-the-art communication systems for your business in terms of like if you need a boardroom where you can watch videos or communicate, they've got it. They do. It's fantastic. Visit safetysystems.com to see all that this local company can do for you and your office. Get in touch with VFL JJ Surlis this week. His team standing by to help you out. Safety Systems. Okay, take a look here at this map of this is what the 2024 Big Ten will look like.
Looks normal.
Yeah, it looks normal. So you got a bunch of teams. Yeah. You can see what's funny is the old Big Ten. You see them all there, kind of in the center. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then they went and they added 3 teams out there in the East: Penn State, Rutgers, and Maryland. And then they went way out there to Los Angeles, and you got UCLA and Southern Cal on there, and we'll leave that map up there just for a second, that it was pointed out when they made their scheduling decision this week, and they were getting praised nationally for their groundbreaking schedule plan. But anyway, both UCLA and USC, everybody pointed how far they're going to travel next year. If you look at the schedule they got for next year, each of them will have more than 15,000 air miles. Wow. 15,000 air miles, each of them. Nebraska travels the next most of anybody in that conference. USC and UCLA travel 225% more than Nebraska will. Unbelievable. So let's look now at the SEC for 2024. It's getting bigger, but it's not as crazy as the Big Ten. Still, though, you see Oklahoma. You see Texas getting further out there past Texas A&M. Texas is the farthest point in the SEC, 1,200 miles from South Carolina. 15-hour car ride from Gainesville. It's out there, folks. It's a hike. So let's take a look at Tennessee's road trips of the future. Yeah, that's about right. You're going to fall asleep driving. But what you've got in terms of mileage, the closest, Kentucky, about 2.5 hours if fans are going to drive, 170 miles. Vandy, just 4 or 5 minutes longer than that, according to Google. I drive a little quicker than that, but 236 to Kentucky, 240 to Vandy, 355 to South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, Mississippi State. But once you get down there past Missouri, all of these trips in terms of driving, 8 hours and 56 minutes to Missouri, 9 hours to LSU, 10 hours to Arkansas, 12-hour drive to Oklahoma, 13 hours and 58 minutes to Texas A&M, 14 hours and 56 minutes, a 15-hour drive to Austin, Texas. Bob, the teams, they're going to be flying. They don't have a problem. Now, in terms of getting to class and all that stuff, they may have some problems, but they're going to travel in comfort and style. Fans, you're either going to be having the richest fans go because they're going to fly too, but the average fan, the students who used to get in a car and pile and go down to Auburn or Alabama or something, I don't know that you're going to be driving 15 hours to Texas. This is tough on the fans.
I'll tell you what, it is tough on the fans. The good news is these days, like say you're going to go watch Tennessee play Texas, you buy your ticket in enough advance, it's probably about as cheap as driving. Depending on how many people
flying?
you want to, or flying is about as cheap as driving, depending on how many people you wanted to go. Some of the students will like the road trips even better because it seems a little crazier. Man, that's 15 hours. And that's where you get your 8 or 9 people. But yeah, it is going to, I think the first time Tennessee goes to Austin, Texas, you'll have a huge contingent of Tennessee fans.
Right.
Yeah. I think after that you will settle in to a group of however many it is that shows up every year. But yeah, I think that you mentioned how the Big Ten was clustered. Well, look at the old SEC.
Right.
Same thing. You were sitting there, you were just clustered like that too. Yeah. It used to be on what train tracks you had. If you had a good train ride, you could come in their conference. So I think it'll lose the road trips will lose some of their luster going forward.
You've already seen fewer. The SEC is not selling as many road tickets as they used to. That's already changed in recent years. Part of that may be just the glut of games. Part of that's probably all these games are on television now. But there has been a change. I think it's going to get worse. I think Bob's right. There'll be some people who look. I think the first trips will be fun.
Right.
I think Bob's right that you'll have college kids who'll say, "Oh, this would be cool," until they get halfway there, and then it'll. Yeah. I've been a college kid. Things sound great until you're halfway into them. But I think that this is probably going to be long term. It's not like I'm someone who believes in doing. I think Tennessee should have done the road game at BYU this year, the non-conference game. That's one trip.
Yep.
When you've got a league now that's this big and all your trips are getting longer and longer, that's tough inside your conference. I think it's going to hurt attendance long term.
Yeah, I'm on the same page with you guys. The novelty trips, first time you go to Austin, you'll have a really good crowd from Tennessee, or when Texas comes to Tennessee. But after that novelty wears out, in future years, you'll see fewer and fewer people traveling. So I think that's going to impact your actual attendance.
And I think one thing with me, this may make me more likely to go see Tennessee at Kentucky, or this may make me more likely to go to one of the shorter trips. I'll do one of the longer ones. Maybe the Cowboys are going to be home, same weekend that
Right.
Tennessee's playing at Texas. If you can kind of, put that together. But otherwise, I mean, I agree 100%.
I do think that maybe it lasts a second time through. Like maybe some fans can go the first year, and then there's enough fans that maybe can go the second year to where you can still get fans there. What I worry about is it's not the Tennessee opponents, it's everybody else. Like, what about all the other schools in the league that are going to have to travel a long way that don't travel normally as well as Tennessee does? Like, that, you may not even get them the first time, even if there is a novelty. Tennessee fans will deliver in traveling. What about the rest of the league? That's where it hurts.
Also, these longer trips are more of a, it used to be you could go to Kentucky, you could go to Auburn, you could go to Vandy, in a given year. Kentucky and Vandy weren't going to be in the same, but anyway, you get the point. You could do a couple of those. Now, I think if you're doing one of these to Oklahoma or to Texas A&M, in terms of money and time invested, that may tell some people to say, I can't do three of these trips anymore. We got to do the one big one.
Well, yeah, and then you also got to think the way you're playing it better. I'll do one trip maybe, but then there's going to be a bowl game, right? I mean, I'm not going to go to all these road games
Correct.
and then also go to a bowl game too.
And a lot of it also depends on how good you are.
Certainly,
exactly.
If Tennessee is 11-2 good for a long time going forward, okay, that's gonna make a little bit of this. People will take that extra money who typically wouldn't, and say, I want to go see my really good team in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're 5-5, I'll stay home.
All right, very good. When we come back, after all this expansion, what is an SEC school? Well, I went down and looked. There are about 7 or 8 traits that most of these schools share. Not all of them share. A couple of teams don't really fit in the SEC. I think you may be surprised. Right now you're thinking of one. It's like, nope, they fit. There's a couple that don't. We'll show you those. And I also went around just to see if all these teams people are talking about who would fit the mold. And we'll explain the mold. Does Tennessee fit the mold? Come on back. A lot of mold talk next.